Hang on a minute. I left my coffee outside. Be right back. This is Moshe. We're having beautiful days and cold mornings and cold nights. Interesting. Very unusual weather for May. Extraordinary, actually. Okay, so what's today? The 6th of May, 8:24 in the morning. What we're going to cover today is Iran is continuing, even through last night, to have mysterious explosions in various buildings, okay? And fires, bad fires. They're in panic. IRGC forces are evacuating their bases. They're leaving their bases to run home to be with their families and take care of them. They're getting crazy. But we're going to go into it and discuss what is really behind this and how it's working. It's pretty interesting. Ukraine hit Moscow again last night with a nice drone attack, and buildings were on fire. Israel intends to rather indefinitely occupy Gaza with the military. It's the latest we got from the Security Council. And that is a little bit on the complicated side, and we're going to do a deep dive into it. They're not exactly evacuating them to another country. It's a little complicated. We'll explain it. You'll understand it. A lot of airlines have canceled flights to Israel, and if any of you are going to come to Israel, not really me, my wife actually, but there's a way to do it inexpensively, and I'll explain that to you as we go. We'll get into that, okay? El Al, the Israeli airline, is not going to cancel flights. They have anti-missile systems installed in the planes, similar to what they put in the president's plane in America. They don't take down missiles. They mess it up so it won't hit. I don't know how effective it is on the latest missiles. Probably still works very well. Anti-aircraft systems from our enemies are very, very deficient and weak. So it's probably very effective. And all the LL planes have this. So they'll be flying. And the basic plan is you take a regular flight to parts of Europe, which I'll tell you where to go. And they're very inexpensive flights. Usually they're very competitive, so they're not going to be expensive. And the airlines that stop flying to Israel are probably looking to deploy their planes elsewhere to make money. They don't want to just park them. So they'll probably start flying from America to Europe, and there'll be more competition, and those prices will go down. And I'll explain to you how to go without spending a fortune. El Al is, likely going to bump their prices up from America to Israel, in the $3,000 range or more. But when you're flying in from countries in Europe, which I'll show you where to go, the flights are short, 2.5 hours. So in other words, 2 cups of coffee and you're in Israel. And that's not going to be very expensive, okay? And there's still going to be some airlines flying here, possibly from Europe. So there's going to be options. I'll explain it to you. And I don't know how long this airplane embargo is going to last, because the Houthis are not doing too good. And last night, Israel attacked Yemen, Israel. 20 planes, 50 bombs. America was in on this too. I don't know how many bombs they dropped. Maybe the 50 was the combination, but I think it was just Israel that dropped 50. What we destroyed was a port that's very important to the Houthis. And this is the port that the Iranians use to send missiles and other weapons to the Houthis. And that port is Kaputski. It's finished, okay? Many months to rebuild it, okay? They have diverted traffic to other ports they have while they still last. And I'll explain to you what the psychology is, or what the war strategy is with Israel. And I do not believe this to be the last strikes Israel's going to make on Yemen, because they're continuing to attempt to hit us with missiles again. So I can't give you a written guarantee that tonight there's going to be more strikes by Israel, but I'm pretty sure of it. And I'll explain what the likely targets are. Instead of hitting in addition to hitting the port, they hit a concrete factory that makes the concrete for the tunnels and underground embankments and fortifications to protect the Houthi buildings and facilities from being bombed out. So that cement factory bit the dust. It's finished. It would take ages to fix it, And I'll explain what the likely targets are going to be in the future, as Israel will, I'm sure, continuing to hit Yemen. It's unlikely they won't. The only thing that would make Israel stop hitting Yemen would be if Netanyahu got a green light to start hitting Iran, other than what's already happening with these mysterious explosions and severe fires. And I'll explain to you how stupid Iran is and how their strategy with putting everything underground painted them into a corner, and how we're actually now seeing, this past few days, we're seeing the fulfillment, in my opinion, of Jeremiah 49, where Elam which is Iran, very possibly parts of Iraq and Syria. Historians are a little disagreed on that, but nobody's disagreed about Elam being Iran. So they become devastated so bad, all of the people have to evacuate and scatter into all the countries of the world. And there the sword follows them and they get cut off. And this is in Jeremiah 49, the last 10 or 12 verses of the passage. Maybe I'll read it later. So there's a lot that we're going to unpack, and then I'm going to do another fireside chat on spiritual warfare and share my experiences, procedures, tactics, and approaches to it. Okay? So we're going to get going in a minute. I just feel, to be fair to people, I should tell them what I'm going to do today. Okay. I don't put up, videos that say, oh, Trump just signed a massive order, or Trump did this, or Russia did this, and not, I don't like to explain, I like to tell you what I'm going to talk about, rather than just, make the clickbait. I'm not interested in trying to trick people into seeing the videos. Those are not the people I'm really trying to reach. Thank you for being here. I've got one moderator right now. That's good. I'm going to get my posts up real quick while people are coming in. What's going on in Iran is, you got to understand, is sheer panic now. And they painted themselves into a corner, and I'm going to explain that to you. The Iranians did. So I put my posts up. That's going to take a few seconds. If you're going to leave, leave. What can I do? You want to leave? You're not the people I'm trying to reach. What I do is I put the news together with the Bible prophecies, the real Bible prophecies, not the Gog and Magog stuff that's way down the road. Are we living like it says in Ezekiel 38 without bars and walls and peace and safety? It says that in Ezekiel 38 with many cattle and gold and silver. If you think that's Israel today, you're nuts. Where's the man of sin that's going to talk peace? You ever see any peace treaties get settled? Time's short, guys. We're in the year of recompenses. We're approaching the day of vengeance and then the year of redemption. And the churches don't teach that, but it's all in the scriptures. Read Ezekiel 38:4. Read Zechariah 12. That's what you should be reading now, not Ezekiel 38 and 39. If you read the book of Joel, there's a temple during Ezekiel 38:39. That's what the whole book of Joel talks about. Ezekiel chapters 8 to 11 is also Gog and Magog, and there's a temple, and the glory of God of Israel in the temple. Where is that? I'm not talking New Jerusalem, I'm talking the next temple. So, you got to kind of, any false teacher could sit there, oh, we're not in Gog and Magog yet. Yeah, but they're not telling you where we are at. I am. Remember, Yeshua said to watch. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm showing you what's going on. Okay, let me finish my post and we'll get going. We're not going to have that buffering today as far as I know. I believe I took care of it, but we'll see. I actually did the latest update. It should not happen. And let me get my email address up. If you want to send in prayer requests and toss requests, you can. You might have a few hundred people pray for you. The price is free. So don't be prideful. If you need prayer, ask us. We'll be happy to pray. Okay, I got everything up. Now I'm going to do some praise and we'll get going. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. It appears that the actual landing of a Houthi missile the other day, 350 meters from the actual airport, hitting a road, I believe, making a crater, is modifying Netanyahu's deal, I think. It doesn't look like he's going to invade Syria. Things are calming down there in addition. And maybe he never intended to. Maybe he was planning on really doing this thing with Hamas in Gaza. Maybe I missed it there. I think I might have. Probably I did. So sorry about that. But we're already in Syria. We already have a lot of soldiers there. We already have tanks and armor and everything else in Syria. So we're in southwestern Syria protecting Druze and other people down there. So I thought they were going to go deeper into Syria, but the situation also combining with what happened at the airport, they did calm down with what they're doing to the Druze to some good extent anyway. So I think the combination maybe got Netanyahu away from that, or maybe he wasn't really intending to do that. I could have been off on that. So the security cabinet in Israel the other day approved a plan where we're going to go into Gaza with the military and we're staying there indefinitely, which means Bible prophecy is getting fulfilled there in a pretty good way. Okay, they shall swoop down on the shoulders of the Philistines. A lot of them wind up dead, and a whole lot of them wind up converting to Yeshua. Now, they could be lost tribes because in the Middle East, over the years and centuries, I'm talking about many centuries, they did forced conversions of the Jews. They wound up in what was becoming a Muslim majority country, and if they converted to Mohammedanism, they would be treated like the regular Muslim citizens. And if they didn't, they would be basically a slave with no rights and in a bad way. Okay? So that's part of the reason for it, I believe. Now this thing is clicking on and off, and I don't know why. I buy these chargers, and they're not the original factory charger, and they don't seem to be, the iPad doesn't seem to like them that much, so I think I got to call the Apple store and get a charger from them, because I've tried several of these things. They don't last long, and they do charge, but they, not so great. Okay. How is this going to work? Well, see, when we're going to bomb a certain area, we drop leaflets and we tell them, or we make announcements in other ways in Arabic, telling the people they got to move out of this area. Usually they get a day to do so, or half a day, or 2 days, or 3 days, depends. And they shift out of the area, and then we attack the area. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shift them out of these areas where Hamas is, like we've been doing for months. But after they leave that area, they're not coming back. We're keeping soldiers there. That's the role of the reservists, very likely, is to keep them there so the people don't come back, because the people leaving could definitely be Hamas mingled in, and then they come back. Okay, so we're going to make sure that's not happening. I don't know why this charger is doing this. I can't figure this one out. The Apple products are a mystery with the electronics, I'll tell you. We never did this before. When we moved the people out, then we pulled the military out. Of course, the bombing was over and they came back. And on my Telegram, I had pictures. They'd see their houses were blown up or destroyed, or they saw the damage and this type of thing. And that type of thing isn't going to happen anymore. They're going to be moved out, and that's it. They're not coming back. So that's a new development, and we never did that before. And the soldiers are going to stay there, according to Netanyahu, until Hamas is defeated, which means they're dead, they left, they're demilitarized, etc. There has to be no chance of them ever rising to power or running Gaza again. Okay, that's it. It's over. And I don't think we'll ever leave Gaza. Ever. Ever. Until New Jerusalem comes. And that's where we'll be then. So for quite a while, we're going to stay there. Okay? And our people will ultimately return there. The right-wing element of Israel is elated over this decision. They're saying it's better than anything they hoped for. So Netanyahu's consolidating, which could mean he may have to give ground to the Supreme Court and the Attorney General and draft the ultra-Orthodox. He may have to abandon them because he's in a conflict. The Attorney General is giving him notices that he has to show the court why, or show the Attorney General why he's not drafting the ultra-Orthodox. And once he starts drafting them, the ultra-Orthodox are going to pull from his coalition and they may try to topple him. But if he's got the ultra-Orthodox, if he's got the right wing, which is about as many votes as the ultra-Orthodox have, 15 out of 120 in the Congress, which we call the Knesset, then he's going to be standing a lot stronger. Plus, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be glad that Netanyahu is finally going to do something decisive here. Now, what he told them is very, very interesting. The name of this operation is called Gideon's Chariot. They wanted to call it Samson something, but they said, no, Samson died. So he was fighting the Philistines at the end. He got his revenge and he died, but we're not going to die, so we're not going to use that. Rather biblical, actually. So he intends to take actually decisive action. Now, Trump is coming in a few days. Now, I think he's coming to the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, but he may come to Israel. The way Netanyahu was talking is he says, we're going to give you until Trump comes and completes his visit. But once he completes his visit, if you haven't given back all the hostages and complied with all our terms of a ceasefire, we're going to wipe you out, and essentially is what he's saying. Okay? This is driving me crazy. It's charging, though. I don't know. I'm going to worry about it later. So he's... It looks like Trump wants to take credit for the victory, ceasefire, return of hostages, all the above, while he's in the Middle East. And Netanyahu is helping him. They're going to stand next to each other and say, as a team, we did it. You know, if they get there. I don't think they're going to get there. So the reservists are coming into active duty this week, and they're going to probably be staged at various bases and get ready to go in. I imagine the strategy would be they tell the civilians leave. If you don't leave, you're in danger. If you leave, you'll have food and water where you go. That's generally how it works. We're in the third month of the no humanitarian aid, and there's false videos that the Gazans are starving, and they're not really starving. The UNWRA food warehouses were robbed, I think 5 or 7 of them simultaneously in the same day, and that wouldn't have been Gazan civilians rioting. That was Hamas that did it. Now, the Gazan people know, believe me, where the Hamas is keeping their food supplies. They see them raid the warehouses and transport the food. They know where it is. And this is a good ploy for Israel. Let me explain why. There's basically a few things the Gazans can do. One is nothing, and food is going to be getting tighter and tighter. And Hamas is going to be eating. They're not going to be eating well because they're eating these care packages and humanitarian aid. Okay. Along with that comes medical and various cooking fuel and other fuel. All right. So they've stashed all this stuff. They raided the UNWRA warehouses because they didn't want the people to get it. They want to, because they're preparing for a long siege where they stay underground and they want to eat and drink bottled water. So minimally the Gazans are going to be very resentful towards Hamas because they don't care about the civilians, and now it's very open. So they're going to start crying out to whatever media they could get access to, get rid of Hamas, we hate them, they're our enemy, and it's going to build up, and all this propaganda news war that Hamas and the other Muslim Israel-hating countries have been touting is going to backfire on them, and they're going to be labeled as the true genocidal people in Gaza because they're starving their own people out. Okay? They threatened us with the Gideon's Chariot operation of launching missiles at us and stuff like that. I think it's a rather empty threat. I don't think they could do much of anything. Every now and then try to get a missile off. Probably at least half of them or something like that will land inside Gaza and they'll all be taken down or not cause damage. It's nothing. Nobody's very worried about it. Nobody's evacuating people from the areas near Gaza or anything like that in Israel. I mean, it's an empty threat. They got to say something. What are they going to say? We're going to shoot your tanks with our AK-47s and the bullets will ricochet off and maybe come back and hit us in the head or something. What are they going to say? The Houthis aren't going to like this because what Netanyahu did is he stepped up the pressure on Gaza when they're trying to get Israel to leave Gaza alone so they could rebuild and kill us again another day. It's a rather obvious tactic. So this Gideon's Chariot operation should probably take place in, I don't know, the next 5, 10, 12 days or something like that, depending when I have to make sure we can get a good, accurate date on Trump's arrival in the Middle East. I don't know his whole agenda. I'm not sure anybody does, but I believe it's going to Saudi Arabia. I don't know where else he's going to go. It wouldn't be very safe to come to Israel for him after what happened at the airport the other day. I don't know. The Houthis are saying that they modified their missiles to defeat the THAAD system. Israel has 2 THAAD systems. I'm reasonably sure, I'm rather certain. One of them was near the Ben Gurion airport. I think the others around Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. And I think we really have 3 of them. I'm not sure it's 2. I think it's 3. And they said they could defeat it. And at the same day they launched the missile, which apparently did defeat the Iron Dome, the Arrow and David Sling and the THAAD, because it landed and blew up. The Iranians did a public display of a new missile they had that they said can defeat the American THAAD system. At the same day, the Houthis attacked Ben Gurion Airport. The other day was the day before yesterday. And that means that the Iranian missile was transported to Yemen, and that's what they use. These people in Yemen can barely or not at all even read or write. They ended up making these kind of missiles. Did these missiles really originate from China? Then maybe, I don't know. Maybe the technology was given by China to Iran, and we don't have knowledge of that. Maybe Israel and America does, but we don't. So this is really an interesting thing. But to use this anti-THAAD missile system against America, they have to get close to America with missiles. I'm going to have to take the other charger in here, guys. This is not a good thing. I'll be right back. I got one charger that seems to work pretty good, but it's not operating like a fast charger like I said when I bought it, but it does charge. Let me try this one and see if I get better results. And I got a new extension cord yesterday too, which I haven't used yet, but I don't think the extension cord's for trouble. Okay. Now, the Arab world is liable to light up over our plans to occupy Gaza personally. All right. So we're also continuing to bomb Hezbollah on a daily basis, attack them with drones, bombs, you name it, right? Not surface-to-surface missiles. And this other one seems to be the right one. It's working. If it's charging. And it's charging. So I think I solved it. I plugged in the bad charger by mistake. I still have another new charger I haven't tested. I have to try that later today. So Iran. So why are we doing this in Hezbollah? Because we're going to hit Iran, Israel, and America too. And I believe Israel's already hitting Iran. Maybe America is, and maybe it's America and Israel, but somebody's hitting Iran. Every day, various structures are blowing up, massive explosions that the people feel the ground rock and everything. You know, the windows rattle, the doors, the whole bit. And then there's massive fires, and the Iranians, when it comes to putting fires out at 10, on a 10 scale, 10 being the best, they're probably around a 4. You know, they're not that good. They're not that advanced. They don't put money in anything except murder. That's their goal in life, is kill. Okay? So Trump is saying, we're not going to accept anything less than the complete dismantling of the Ukrainian nuclear facilities, the Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, are they going to ever agree to this? I think they're going to die before they do. People don't understand the Middle East mentality of criminally insane, psychotic Muslim terrorist leaders unless you live here. They're insane, okay? What's very important to them is their actual reality military might, but what is probably as important, equally important to them, is their psychological projection of power and might and brutality and viciousness, okay? That's all these Middle Eastern countries. Now, the peaceful ones that are more Sunni and they don't expect Israel to build a temple on the Temple Mount and have a false Messiah that tells the Israelis they have to kill all the Muslims. See, the UAE and the Saudis and a couple other countries, the guy that runs the Jordan people now, but they have a lot that do believe in this, Israel's going to wipe out the Muslims theology. It doesn't come out of the Quran. It comes out of this book they have to supplement the Quran, like the Hadith or Hadith or Hadith. It's not the Quran, which is their holy book. I care about the Quran as much as I care about the Tibetan Book of the Dead or, a James Bond book. It's as removed from reality as, as a Batman comic book or something, So they don't follow that. So they don't get all into we got to wipe Israel out yet. Yet. They got division amongst them. Then you got lunatic Sunnis in Syria that want to do a genocide on the Alawites, the Druze, I'm sure the Christians, possibly the Bedouins as well, and I don't know who else. ISIS and Al-Qaeda are, of course, genocidal oriented towards purging the people that say they're Muslims but don't practice Mohammedanism the way they do, so they consider them infidels. It would be like the Lutherans deciding they have to kill the Presbyterians or something like that. It's stupid. Okay. So the people in Iran are in panic now. They don't know what's coming next. Do you understand? Every day with no interruption, various explosions and bad fires. How good is the Iranian security forces? If these are ground-based sabotage events, why can't they stop it? See? People are losing faith and confidence in the Iranian government, which scares them, but not that much, because they have millions and millions of people working for the government that are involved in this lunatic Muslim off the Quran theology, and they would suppress the people by killing them with guns or whatever. They'd shoot them dead in the street. They make the Tiananmen Square massacre in China look lightweight, and it's probably will happen. Big ammunition depot got blown up in the last day or so that a certain part of their army used. I think it was an IRGC ammunition dump, a massive thing, big explosions, secondary explosions, And you see, here's the trap that Netanyahu and likely Trump put Iran into. If the Iranian, now I'm not saying that these explosions are not bombs or missiles being fired by stealth aircraft of Israel, maybe America. I'm not saying that's not the case. Of course, it very well could be the case. We have gotten reports of some of these events, Iran activated their air defense systems. Well, maybe they did that because they didn't know what was going on and they flipped on their air defense systems to see what was going on or something. But they have other radar. It's unlikely they would do that. I don't know. So I do know before October 7th, Israel, on at least one occasion, took two F-35s. They flew over to Iran, circled around inside Iran and then flew back to Israel, and they were never detected. No air defense systems ever activated. This time, why did they activate the air defense systems? Well, the bombs were going off, so they figured something was up there. So it does not have to be on the ground saboteurs working for Israel or America. It does not have to be that. That's what the Iranians are implying, because they are afraid to let the people know that the Jews or the infidels in America can fly into Iran and just drop bombs and then fly out. Okay? The panic would be worse in Israel, in Iran. Is it possible it's a combination of both ground saboteurs and aircraft? Unlikely. Is it a possibility that it's undetected missiles flying in doing it? I would say that's pretty unlikely. Because where are they shooting the missiles from? The American warships are pretty far away. I mean, it's possible, but I'm not going for that. Okay, I don't know about any stealth missiles that they're not going to pick up. There's fast missiles called hypersonic ballistic missiles. There's all kinds of missiles, but undetected missiles, nah. There's missiles that could evade countermeasures like anti-aircraft systems, and they're called smart missiles, but an undetectable missile that's pure stealth, I don't think so. I don't think they have that, unless I'm wrong, but I doubt it. And then the shooting distance is another question. So I think it's planes. Could it be America using F-22s, B-1s, B-2s instead of Israel? It could. But this doesn't have the ring of the way America would do it. America would let Israel do it. Would they help Israel with air refueling tankers and jets to protect the air refueling tankers from getting hit? Yeah, they would. And this air refueling could take place in Syria. Likely does. You got to remember that. Israel keeps its mouth shut. If the Iranians want to keep their mouths shut, Israel doesn't say nothing. Israel's sitting there saying, these dumb schmucks are so worried about their image, they're not going to say nothing. And they're not going to do a retaliation for it. They're not going to pop up and say, oh, the Israelis have been blowing up our buildings and our important infrastructure, causing fires and deaths, therefore we got to counterattack against them. Well, they're afraid to do that now because it'll scare the daylights out of their people even worse. Ground-based saboteurs are not anywhere near as frightening to the people of Iran as the Jews having stealth aircraft and flying in and destroying the country every day. So if you want my bottom line, yeah, Israel's doing it with the F-35s. Remember, we are the only country that America sells F-35s to that can do their own maintenance after the sale, and we're allowed to modify them. Now, Israel's not going to tell us what they do to modify them, but they do modify them, and they don't do that because they're bored and they have nothing to do. They do that because they can make it more effective. So it's likely we have F-35s that are more effective than anybody, even America. But the chances of Israel not sharing the technology with America is pretty low. But maybe during the Biden administration, we didn't share it. So the situation in Iran is, from their point of view, dismal right now. How are they going to stop this? Someone gave me a request regarding a 61-year-old woman. You know who you are. I would like to have those initials. I sent an email to you about that so I can put a more structured prayer/toss request up. Okay? You know who you are. You could email it or post it or whatever. Email it would be better, so then I won't miss it. Okay. So, in summation, we're mostly focusing on Hamas and Iran right now, and we are on a daily basis hitting military targets in Lebanon belonging to Hezbollah. There's basically two flavors of targets we're hitting. One is targeted assassinations, which tends to cripple the commanders and leaders of the various military units that Hezbollah has, and weapons and missile and various storage facilities, plus their infrastructure, their bases, command centers, communications, coordination, all that stuff. So we're on a daily basis weakening Hezbollah and Hezbollah. Why? Well, it's thought that Hezbollah still has a reasonable amount of advanced missiles, the dangerous amount, and they're hidden in various parts of Lebanon. And they're waiting if there's an attack on Iran. Well, guess what? There's been attacks on Iran daily for the last few days, but they're waiting, like if Israel does publicly take credit for the bombing last night in Iran or something like that, then they think they could start launching missiles at us. So this could be one reason why Netanyahu's acting surreptitiously or quietly now behind the scenes as we whittle down Hezbollah's missile supply, because the Israeli people and the country of Israel, the government, are not going to be very happy to start having to take missiles from Hezbollah as well as these idiot Houthis. So we went and we hit with America. It was Israel and American jets last night in Yemen. Cement factory went and a port went. And then they announced they were going to have their various commerce needs shifted to two other ports they have. So those two other ports are likely going to get hit. Why Netanyahu didn't hit the airport, I don't know. But the reality that's coming in now looks like it's this. Iran probably doesn't want to send missiles on a aircraft to Yemen. There is an aircraft, and Iranian cargo planes could land at that airport. But Trump is telling Iran repeatedly, and Marco Rubio, I believe, and Hegseth, all of them, you're being held responsible for everything that the Houthis fire at our ships, other ships, Israel, whatever. We're holding you responsible. And then Iran is lying through their teeth and saying, oh, the Houthis are an independent country, blah, blah, blah. So if you land missiles in Yemen, if Iran lands missiles in Yemen, our surveillance and America, the surveillance will pick it up, and they can keep the missiles in containers and then pull the containers off the ships. But how many big containers are you going to fit in a big cargo plane? They don't have C-17s and stuff that big. So what are they going to get, 4 or 5? Not that much, right? But on a big ship, they can send a 500-600 foot ship that has, 3 or 4 levels inside, and they can put, 100 or 150 or, a very high amount. They could stack containers on the deck. They could disguise it to look like a container ship flagged from other countries, stuff like that. Okay? So what Netanyahu did is he cut off the weapons transfer route Now, the other two ports is interesting. Oh, the other problem Yemen has is they sell oil. They have oil and they're selling oil, and they're going to have trouble getting their oil out. The other ports are quite small. But like I said, I think that Netanyahu's not finished attacking Yemen. Okay? They're going to continue to squeeze off launches at Israel, and then Netanyahu's going to go back. Is he going to go back today or tomorrow? I'm not sure what the plan is, but I'm pretty sure there's a plan. It wasn't just, oh, let's just attack them. Israel doesn't work that way. Israel's got a plan. Okay? If the Yemen and Iran does this, we'll do that. If they do this, we'll do that. If they do this, they might have 4, 5, 6 contingencies, so they're ready for anything. But I think all roads are going to lead to getting rid of those other peers. And then Iran will be desperate to get weapons to the Houthis, and they might very likely hit Israel may very likely hit the airports in Yemen. Cargo planes generally require a large runway. Of course, meaning they're loaded, they're heavy, they're hard to stop. Reversing the engines and putting the brakes on, of course, it's going to stop, but it's not going to stop on a short runway very easily or at all. So they need, so Israel will knock that out, I think. I don't know the purpose of Israel attacking Yemen last night and then not going back for more, but that might be Trump's wishes. I don't know. The Ukraine putting drones into Moscow last night and causing explosions and fires, to me, is not significant. Neither one of them is very advanced over the other at all, and they just keep punching each other in the face and knocking their teeth out. And that's basically what you're seeing. Okay? That's it. I'm thinking here. I certainly could take questions if anybody has any. You just put them up in the chat or you could email them in. My email address is up at the top of the chat. It's israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. Somebody put up Trump 2028. Don't take it down. Somebody wants to express their pleasure with Trump, they could put it up. I don't care. That's not, I mean, I'm not worried about that. Oregon, huh? I know where that is. UFOs are not real. There's nothing in the Bible about life on other planets. No, they're not real. People that are UFO investigators are probably a little nuts. Somebody using the screen name Angel's Life would like prayer for healing from leukemia. Angel's Life is requesting prayer for healing from leukemia. Okay. Um, The topic, and it'll talk about it. You can get it from the head, from the title. Okay, I think I'm okay with questions. We do have what appears to be a toss request more than anything. Let me cover that for you guys. Somebody has got a court case tomorrow, and they are requesting us to toss certain people involved in the toss, in the case, and I'm going to give you their initials. And I would think we should toss today and tomorrow. Okay. Initials DJ Delta Juliet, DJ Delta Juliet, EJ Echo Juliet, EJ Echo Juliet, and JK Juliet Kilo. JK Juliet Kilo. Toss and tell the unclean spirits they can't return to these people. And there's a woman that has a court case tomorrow relating to these people, and pray or actually bind the unclean spirits from having any interference on any level, using any means they can bind or prevent that from happening, so they can't meddle with the court case at all pertaining to these three people we're tossing. Okay? It's a little hard to structure a good prayer request, but I think I did it. All right, let me get through the rest of the news here, and then we'll go to spiritual warfare. What they did, okay, with Iran, what they did with Iran is, I think Trump and the Pentagon intelligently came up with a conclusion that they're not going to be able to bomb the nuclear facilities and get anywhere. And it's going to make Iran look good, and Iran's going to run around like Tarzan. They couldn't get our facilities. They can't get our missile cities, okay? Iran made a stupid mistake. If you can't hit the missile cities and you can't hit the nuclear facilities, what are you going to hit? You're going to hit all their other massive infrastructure above ground, and that's what you're seeing. It's starting on a merciful level, but it likely, if Iran is going to start firing missiles and using ships to launch drones and missiles and torpedoes and all that, it's likely going to rather immediately go to the grid. And their grid is not 1,000 feet underground, it's on the surface. Okay? Power plants, generators. They often have water dammed, in a dam to spin turbines and stuff to make energy. That stuff's going to go. That stuff is as vulnerable could be. Factories, some might be underground. I don't know. I doubt very many. They can hit factories. Weapons storage facilities are likely very deep underground and fortified well. So that's going to be a problem, right? But you hit the power, you hit the gas pipelines, you hit the oil pipelines, you hit the refineries, you could hit the oil wells, causing fires that'll probably never get put out. Okay, you can hit military airports. You can hit more ports and piers in Iran. you could, I mean, it's going to be an obliteration. Then comes strategic things. They could decide, let's knock out railroad vital crossing points of the trains where the tracks shift and stuff, blow them up. That's kind of easily replaced, but it's a royal pain in the neck, isn't it? But what about bridges that trains go on? You blow them up. Well, they could get replaced too if you happen to have 18 months to do it, which prophetically they don't. Then the railroad line is Kaputski. Now, what about underpasses in mountains? Same thing. All you got to do is put a bomb at one of the, you got entrance exits. You got one on either side of the mountain, right? Okay. You drop a bomb on one of them. You get it right at the opening. Boom, right? You're going to get collapse. You've messed that up for months, probably many weeks anyway. And the train can't go through that. Get it? So you hit the bridges, you hit the tunnels through mountains that trains go on. And guess what? You train your ability to maneuver or move troops and supplies and weapons around by train, which Iran does a bunch of, is gone. When you hit the grid, how are people going to get gas? The gas station ain't going to be able to run the pumps, which are electric. Okay? When you hit the grid, you've crippled the country. Sure, their underground facilities are going to have generators, and their missile cities will have generators. Okay. Great. But you're still crippling the country. Okay? Iran's starting to circle the drain. Maybe a little. They're circling the drain far away from the drain. You keep circling, getting closer and closer, then you go down the drain. Right now, they're circling, but far away from the drain. Eventually, Iran's going to have to come up with a alibi story to launch missiles to see if they could stop this from going on in Iran. You understand? This is going to happen. If Iran keeps playing dead and say, well, we got saboteurs, we're hunting them down, we're going to burn them, and it keeps happening, if they start coming up with, now what they refer to is Israel's the little Satan and America's the big Satan. Satan calling Satan, Satan, So what they're going to do is maybe they'll say, well, because of the Houthis, we need to punish Israel or something like that, right? And they'll start launching, or they'll start launching on the Americans. Well, with all these sanctions, and secondary sanctions, we're going to launch. Now, you got to remember, adding to the panic in Iran, their port that they sell 80% of their oil from is burned out. Guys, it's finito. It's done. Okay? So they're going to transition to 2 other ports they could use, and they're going to push some oil out for sure, but it's greatly inhibited. Okay? Their currency is pure trash right now. And now if somebody buys oil or petrochemicals from Iran, Trump's not just putting 100% sanctions on them. He's saying you cannot do business with America. So they can't sell televisions or shoes or napkins in America anymore. It's not that there's going to be a tariff. It's not allowed in. So that country and all its products becomes persona non grata. You get it? That's serious. What the heck is Iran going to do? Iran's big customers are India and China. India is not in any mood to go mess with Trump right now and say, well, we're going to break your blockade because we need oil. If you want to go to war with India, go ahead. And then what happens? Then you start seeing a whole bunch of B-52s and B-2 bombers and Raptors landing in Pakistan and Trump sitting down having dinner with the Pakistan leader. Come on, what do you think will happen? So Modi will call Trump, hey, help me out with some oil. And Trump will say, yeah, I'll make it happen. Don't worry, we'll get you the oil. Don't worry, Modi. Is Modi attacked Pakistan yet? No. Is he still infringing on their water, reducing the amount of water they get? Yes. Does he have his military mobilized? Yeah, that doesn't take a lot of guts. Has he started raining missiles down in Pakistan? No. Has Pakistan done anything serious to India? No. It'll probably blow up. We're waiting for one side to pull the trigger. Okay, and they're both scared. The demons are scared. All these leaders report to the demons. Everyone in every country in the world right now. They're all reporting to the demons. And the demons are scared because they have a rough idea of prophecy and they know about wars and rumors of wars and they don't want to see the wars because it's going to get out of control. However, are they shooting at each other across the border every day, India and Pakistan? Yes. Is Ukraine and Russia getting into it big time? Yes. Is Hamas and Hezbollah and Yemen getting into it with Israel every day now? Yeah. So Satan and his minions are not doing such a great, thorough job of suppressing the wars, are they? No. Because God's will be done. Satan cannot stop that. So if Iran does nothing, these mysterious explosions and fires are going to continue happening. And if Iran does something, they've demonstrated they can't stop whatever it is that's causing the explosions and the fires. There basically is two country possibilities that when you combine America and Israel together, there's probably 100% chance it's one or both of them, and Iran knows that. So the next move would be probably not to sign some sort of nuclear deal, because what Trump wants is he wants Americans from the military, Department of State, probably to go there physically, no videos, and watch the exploding of these nuclear facilities. Then Trump is going to lean on Iran because he sees weakness and he's going to move in. This Trump is the furthest thing from an idiot, by the way, but he's still in a snare, courtesy of Jehovah. Jehovah put him in a snare. Jeremiah 50, verse 24. And he doesn't know he's in a snare and he can't defeat the snare. He's doomed. America is the daughter of Babylon. There's no other country that ever came anywhere close to it like America does. There's a million people that have done accurate videos about this. You could get on the internet and find, the charging's running good now. So what the Iranians are going to try to do is make this stop before the country collapses, right? So how do you make it stop? if you're an Iranian, a criminally insane moron. What are you going to do? Attack. The military bases in the Middle East that America has, the UK got one or two, and the oil refineries of the countries close by, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and then the Houthis, I'm sure, would hit Saudi Arabia, or they would try to, and possibly get Jordan. The first move Iran might try is to have the Houthis intensify the attacks against Israel. That may or may not happen. I don't know. I don't know. The Houthis shot 27 missiles at us in, well, by now I think it's about 28, 29. One got through. There is no perfect missile defense system. It doesn't exist. There's no missile defense system that works at 100%. You can get 90%, 95 or something like that, but you're not going to get up to that level. Okay. So it's not surprising, but maybe they can defeat the THAAD system. And we'll see if they get more that get through. That might be it. Meanwhile, they called, or they notified the airlines of the world that they're doing a continued missile attack on the Ben Gurion airport, and to protect the lives of your passengers and your planes, don't fly into the Israeli airport or the airspace. A lot of airlines canceled. So if you want to come to Israel in the near future, and this could happen, and the Lord paves your way, and you're not coming and you're going to be homeless, sleeping in the park, and, I mean, you really got to, the Lord really set it up. You've got, the funds, you've got a place to stay, you got a plan, and you happen to be in Europe or America, and you need to, or you feel the Lord wants you to get here, and you can't get a flight, or you can't get a flight for less than many thousands of dollars. So what you do, let's say you're in, Western Europe or something, the countries that I believe El Al services that you could get to from America, Canada, South America, Europe, Caribbean, Central America, is Cyprus is a good one. They're very close. I think it's approximately an hour flight. So if you could get yourself to Cyprus with a regular airline, then you could book a flight from Cyprus to Israel with El Al. E-L, new word, A-L. Okay? And their prices would be high, but it wouldn't be that high because it's a short trip. Okay? So you could do that. Okay? You could also go to Italy. Rome is about 2.5 hours from Israel. So you could get yourself over to Rome, which shouldn't be that much money because there's a million airlines that go to Rome. And then in Rome, you switch over to your El Al reservation. Romania is another cheap destination that El Al should service, and other airlines that may still be flying. Not every airline stopped flying to Israel. So you got Romania and You could also do Poland, which is not that far. Okay. Greece isn't so close. It's not so far. You can go there. Okay. And that gives you an idea how to do it. Okay. El Al's going to charge more, than they normally do, but because they're greedy, unless Netanyahu tells them not to, which could be the case. They're our national airline, so Netanyahu can't lean on them. So that would be a way to get it done. Okay. Romania is a rough flight from America, but not that rough. From New York, it's about 9 hours to, what's the capital of Romania? I forgot. I forgot. But you could use Romania, you could use Poland, you could use Rome. Rome's an excellent one. Cyprus is very, very close, Greece and that kind of thing. So you could work it out that way, okay? There's an alternate airport in Israel that's down by Eilat, E-I-L-A-T. I forget the name of the airport. And it has flights, usually in the wintertime, coming into that airport from Europe that are very inexpensive, but we're not in the wintertime anymore. So I don't know if they're still running a lot of flights, and they could try to target that airport too, but they haven't done it, and that's a secondary option. Now, the stupid option, okay? Fly to Jordan, and then in Jordan, arrange to take buses or taxis to the border with Israel in the north, which is near where I live, and then just walk over the border with your American passport, and they'll just give you 90 days, and there you go. That is, in my opinion, the stupidest way to do it. Okay? Now, if Jordan is running flights to America, and you could just stay in the Jordan International Airport and board a flight to Israel, well, that's not in the realm of being a complete moron. That has a possibility of working. Also, you could do it from the UAE if they're flying. That one is much safer than Jordan. You could go to the UAE and go from the UAE to Israel. That's another one. Saudi Arabia, I don't think is going to cooperate. Egypt, yeah. You could fly to Egypt and then fly into America, into Israel. Just stay at the Egypt airport. I believe they're running flights. Now, you just stay in the airport. You don't want to go wander around in Egypt, okay? You can also do like a land crossing. It's like, I think involves a bus or something from Egypt into Eilat area. So you don't really even need another flight. You can work that out with a travel agent. But again, I don't like the ground traveling. For people that don't know what they're doing with these Muslim countries, traveling around on the ground. Look, if you're an Israeli and you speak Arabic because your grandparents did or your parents did, and you go to Egypt and you're going to run around there talking Arabic, nobody's going to look at you twice, okay? As an American, they're going to look at you a little bit, not too much. But an American wanting to go to Israel, you got to watch yourself. Tensions are high these days, okay? Now, if you're going into an international airport and you're getting off and you're staying there, or maybe going to a transit lounge or whatever, and then getting back on another flight a few hours later, I don't think that's very dangerous. You could do that in the Cairo airport. I think you'd be okay. All right, you got the idea? Your best bet is probably to fly to like Cyprus, Italy, Poland, Romania, and then get on El Al and come here. Okay, I don't think El Al's flying in Jordan or Egypt. They do fly in the UAE, so that you could do. Now you got an idea. So yeah, a lot of airlines canceled. I think, in my opinion, they're going to reverse their cancellations shortly. But we'll have to see. Okay? That's one of the big reasons I think Netanyahu's going to go back and hit them today and tomorrow and the next day, because he wants this business of the airlines being afraid to come here to go away. Okay? He's not a happy camper about this. It's a two-way ticket. You know, the people that the Israelis that want to leave Israel for business or vacation are having trouble getting out too. It's a two-way street, you know. And there's a lot of tourists here that are, you know, not a lot of tourists in Israel these days, but there's some that are probably sucking wind trying to get flights and get out of here. If Iran does do a so-called counterattack and hit the oil refineries and U.S. bases, there's going to be a response against Iran that will probably plow them into dust. And it'll likely be from these countries that they hit the refineries and the American bases and the ports and the piers and all that. They're going to join America and Israel and bomb them. That's Elam, which is Iran, gets destroyed by our enemies in the plural, and you'll see that. Now, I say we're waiting for Jordan to attack us, and, you know, let me check the Psalm 83 countries again, just for the hay of it, okay? It may or may not be dead on accurate to Zechariah 12, which does not name the countries. But Psalm 83 does name them, but it doesn't mean that that's exactly what's going to happen. Let's take a look. No, Ammon is in there. That's northern Jordan. That's where the capital is. Amalek is the Sinai Peninsula. That's where Egypt has 100,000 troops now. You know, what God's doing is he's inviting them to the barbecue. And who's going to light the barbecue? Elijah and Apostle John in Zechariah 12:6. They burn up the enemies round about on the right and the left. And that's what's happening. Come to my barbecue, guys. You hate me. You hate my people. You hate what I'm doing. You don't want Israel to have the land that I promised them by a covenant in Genesis 15. You want to make me a liar and go against me? Okay, come to my barbecue. Edom is Yemen. They're involved in this. That's a rather no-brainer right now, right? Ishmaelites is generally the Arabs, so that's not geographically, well, it's not country specific, I should say. Moab is in there, that's South Jordan. So we're waiting for Jordan to fall into line against us. So don't be traveling to Jordan and coming over here. Don't try that. Hagarenes is Syria, that's, we know. Lebanon is in there. It's called HE_AL. Ammon, Amalek. Palestinians are in it, which is Gaza. Tyre is in it, which is Lebanon. And Asher, which is Iraq. Not Iran. Now, Edom is in it, which is Yemen, but they get demolished. So I guess this is the Psalm 83 is more or less, could very likely, I can't give you a written guarantee, be the barbecue in Zechariah 12, verse 6, the whole Zechariah 12 chapter. It could be part of it. Israel's not saying so, but it plans to have people live in Gaza. So does Jehovah. But I think that's going to be a redemption thing. My thoughts, but at that time it'll happen. So Iran's not going to just sit still forever. They're gonna lash out. But when they lash out, they know they're going to get attacked. So what is Israel and America and the other people that'll attack Iran going to do? They're going to wreck their infrastructure. So yeah, you got these wonderful missile cities underground, and you got these nuclear facilities, but everything you got above ground is going to be destroyed. You're not going to have a country, and you're going to have to leave, and that's how we're going to get rid of you, and that's how it's going to absolutely happen. So that's Iran's big mistake. Criminally insane people run out of rope sooner or later. They don't know their limits. They don't know when to stop. They just keep going. And that is error. And that's the mistake they made. Okay, the person with the court case, the initials are Girl Kilo, GK, Girl Kilo, GK. Pray for a good outcome in the court case this week for GK, Girl Kilo. Okay, great. Thank you. Let's take a look at the live stream chat, see if we have any questions that need answering. I do take questions and I do come into the chat and look at them, and I do answer them when I can, as long as they're somewhat related to what we're talking about. Gog and Magog is not for this time, guys. When you read Ezekiel 38, it says Israel's living in peace and safety without bars and walls. That's not the case. It says Israel, they have great riches. They come to steal cattle, silver, gold. Yeah, 28% of Israel lives at the poverty line now. Probably more. It's probably 35, 40% with the war. Pray for the two witnesses to start working openly soon. That's when the world's going to change. The world's going to change when that happens. In not a little way, in a big way. It's going to change more than it did when Yeshua was on earth, because Yeshua on earth was just basically operating in Israel. Basically, he was operating mostly in Jerusalem and the Galilee. I'm sure he went to other parts of Israel too. In some cases, it's mentioned that he did. But the two witnesses are going to affect the whole world. Now, Yeshua is greater than they are. When Yeshua comes back with New Jerusalem, that's going to be greater than anything the two witnesses ever did. And when he appears and people get everlasting life, the two witnesses don't do that. Only Yeshua does that. He's the firstborn son, so he gets a double portion. We don't, the two witnesses don't have the ability to give people everlasting life. They're they're prophets, and they're very powerful prophets, like Moses and Aaron were, but much more so. Moses and Aaron were just told, okay, today you go to Pharaoh and tell him this and I'll perform it, But the two witnesses are going to affect the whole world. Okay. And Moses never even made it into Israel. The two witnesses are emerging from Israel, Elijah and Apostle John. So what else do we got? The sanctions. See, AliExpress and Temu and those characters have got to start collapsing any day now. They were able to send stuff into America up to $800 without any tax. And their goods were cheap, but not that cheap. Now that $800 exemption is gone, so everything gets taxed. So if you wanted something from China for $100, you would pay 134%. So you would pay $234. So it's not competitive. So AliExpress can't drop prices that much. Maybe they can drop 10, 20, 25%, but even if they drop in half, it isn't going to work. So they have to try to exploit other markets of the world. And I don't think they're going to do that well. I think they got to drop prices, not because these other countries have special tariffs on them, because they don't, but they're going to have to start dropping prices because they lost a major market. And I haven't really seen much of this yet, but give it a little time. They're freaking out. Layoffs, closures of factories, all kinds of problems. Cancellation of orders. I mean, it's just... Russia's not doing so hot. How do you think Russia feels taking a lot of Ukrainian drones for the second time in a few days in Moscow? Fires, explosions. How do you think the people in Moscow feel? Think they're happy? Think they're sitting out there going, "Go, Putin, go"? Or maybe they're saying that moron Putin for 3 years got us in this. So many soldiers got killed, so much money wasted, equipment wasted. Now they're attacking buildings inside Russia. Trump's giving Zelensky $50 billion of weapons, which he'll pay back from future profits from the minerals and metals deal. Sleeper agents in America, you got to be concerned about that. Iran's getting desperate. China's getting desperate. Russia's getting desperate. North Korea is completely psychotic. It might be time for them to get launched. There's going to be blowback when they do, but they might think this is a good time, or maybe they'll keep waiting. I don't know. Trump wants to send prisoners from America to Rwanda. Man, I don't know what prisoners he wants to send to Rwanda, but that's going to create blowback. I don't know what the prisons look like in Rwanda. You can only imagine. And there's some other countries like that he wants. I think, and then comes, oh, I'm going to rebuild Alcatraz. He's trying to scare the illegals to leave. Now he comes out and says, we'll give you $1,000 to leave on your own, plus pay your airfare. That's smart because it's going to cost more money to process them out. A lot more money. Will some take them up on it? Undoubtedly, but I don't know how many. Some will. Others will interpret it that he can't get us out. He doesn't know what to do. They may think that. I think he cut the flow of new ones coming in, unless they're coming in by sea and getting away with that. I don't know. I don't think so. It's a good idea, and if he runs the $1,000, he'll probably try it with 2,500. Maybe not, because if he keeps going up, the people are going to think, "Oh, why take it at 2,500? In 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be 5,000." So he may not do that. He may just stick with the 1,000. He might add to it intelligently, like say, "We'll also give you car fare money to get over here. We'll give you a bus or a train ticket as well as your airfare." He could do that. So it's pretty interesting what's going on, and we're getting ready. Uh, the attacks that we made last night in Yemen, I would say I'm rather certain, are not going to stop the Houthis from continuing to fire at us. Whether or not the missiles make it through is another story, but I think they'll continue to fire at us. Nothing I heard about the bombings would make me think that they can't continue to do that. So we're going to get more attacks from these lunatics. And we're going to find out in the next day or two if they can defeat the THAAD missile systems and all our missile systems. We're going to learn a lot. And so will America at our expense. But I don't think Trump planned that. So the Houthis are continuing to fire at the American warships. And they've been increasing the distance away from where the Yemen by like 50, 100 kilometers a day for a few days, and then they got sufficiently far away where they're not at risk. But they're so far away, they got to use refueling tankers. When the jets launched to bomb Yemen, the Americans have to put up refueling tankers so the jets can get back. So they're not happy with Yemen. I'll be right back. what you're beginning to see now is we're into the wrapping up of the year of recompenses. And it ends in the day of vengeance. That's a big day, and that's not Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog is called the great day of the Lord, not the day of vengeance. Ezekiel 34, verse 8. It's Isaiah 34, verse 8. Sorry. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. That means they're fighting about Zion. Zion is pronounced Sion. It means a dry, parched land. It's, in other words, Judah and Jerusalem. It's the land we have now. When we get redeemed, the land's not going to be dry and parched. It's going to be beautiful and gorgeous. So this is the beginning of the end. The day of vengeance is the culmination. Now, we'll read Isaiah 63:4 and see how it ties to the year of redemption. They don't teach this in the churches. You should ask them why. I don't think you should even communicate with them or have anything to do with them, but they don't want you to know this is why. Isaiah 63:4 says, for the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. Okay? So the day of vengeance is like in between the year of recompenses and the year of redemption. Now, you get this also, although most people don't really understand it, in Isaiah 61, which is also used in the New Testament. Maybe it's 62. Wait a second. I didn't get the right. Hold on a second. The Spirit of the Lord God, it actually says Adonai Yehovah, is upon me, because Jehovah hath anointed me. Now that word for anointed is Mashiach, which is in the Latin Christos, in the Greek it's Christ. Okay, so Yeshua's last name wasn't Christ, it means anointed, okay? Anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He had sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. That's the so-called pit, the dry place that he went to and preached to them after he was killed till resurrected, those 3 days. And when he took captivity captive, I believe he took the people in Abraham's bosom up to heaven. I don't think they were able to get to heaven until he paid the price for the sins, which would include their sins, I expect, as evidenced by he took them up to heaven. That's the way I see it. to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. Acceptable is the pleasant year. It'd be better translated that way. That's redemption. And the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. The mourn is in Zechariah 12. After they look upon the one whom they have pierced and they get everlasting life, then they're mourning. All of Israel is mourning. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, see, they're mourning in Israel, to give unto them beauty for ashes. See, when you hit redemption, the women are going to be a lot more beautiful than you've seen. And the men will be, I don't know, beautiful, handsome, same thing. The garments of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Jehovah, that he might be glorified. And they shall build the old waste places. They shall raise up the former desolations. And they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. So these desolations are not because Iran blew stuff up. Okay, it's from the past. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. But you shall be named the priests, the Kohanim of Jehovah. Men shall call you the ministers of our God. You shall eat the riches of the heathen, and in their glory shall you boast yourselves. For your shame you shall have double, that's the double portion, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in the land they shall possess the double portion. So we're going to have it better than even what they had with Solomon, when they were pretty rich. Everlasting joy is an indication of everlasting life, shall be unto them. For Jehovah loves judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offerings, and I will direct their work in truth. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them. Again, everlasting life, clue. And their seed shall be known among the heathen, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed. Well, if they see you, and they know you're the redeemed, what in the world are they seeing? Isaiah 61, arise, shine, that means emanate forth light. For thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. So when Moses was with the glory of God of Israel on Mount Sinai, and he came down, he was glowing, and they had to cover him with a veil. Well, that's how you're going to be. That's why the people that see you are going to know. Cool, huh? See, the gospel's good news. The church is bad news. Oh, the man who sinned the beast is going to come, and if you take the mark, he's going to, you're going to go to the lake of fire forever, and if you don't, he's going to cut your head off. So who of Israel's going to be left? Nobody. Either you'll be doomed for the lake of fire or have your head cut off. See, that's how they view Israel. And while this happens, God's going to take the church up to heaven for a 7-year feast. And then we're going to come down as gods and reign over Israel with a rod of iron. Nothing in the scripture says Yeshua is going to reign over the heathen with a rod of iron. These are the last days of the churches. You watch them fall apart. Watch. They're built on sand, not the rock. And they're divided, and a house divided unto itself shall not stand. Different doctrinal statements, different denominations, and it's nonsense. Okay, spiritual warfare. So let's think what I can share with you. Once, many years ago, I was a believer, and I was in business and working at that. And I met with a guy in a hotel room in Miami, where he lived in the area. I went down there. I was going to take a cruise or something. I went a few days early to hang out with him. We had a business relationship. I knew he was a Satan bot. And I opened up the hotel room. Now, at that time, I was using some sort of eye drops on my eyes that had cayenne in it, and they would increase circulation and things like that. So I had just put the eye drops in a little while ago. And he walks into the hotel room, and he doesn't get more than 6 or 8 feet in the room, and he says, "Why are your eyes red?" Now, what happened? The first thing he did when he got in is he locked his eyes into mine to do his witchcraft, sorcery, and crap like that. He was packing a demon, okay? So I told him I put the eye drops in. But you see, they just immediately put their eyes into your eyes. That's what they try to do. So if you get yourself a nice pair of mirrored sunglasses, they fall apart. They can't do it. Then you start hearing, "Why do you wear the sunglasses?" You see how many people come into the chat and say, "Why are you wearing the sunglasses? Take the sunglasses off," right? That's why. They could apparently do some type of witchcraft through a live stream. I doubt they could do it with a video. And they can't do it with email. Email doesn't work. So when you see that, what are some of the discreet things you could do? Oh, say, "Excuse me, I got to go to the restroom or something," and go in there and toss them. They want to make believe they're not doing anything. You make believe you're not doing anything either. You're not lying. You're not deceiving. You're doing it. You're just not talking about it. Now, if they ask you a question about it, or you say, "Did you throw the demons out of me?" They'll never say that. I say, "Yeah. I don't have a problem with you. I got a problem with the demons." Or you maybe just want to say, not that, because you do have a problem with them. Say, "I have a problem with demons. I throw them out of people. That's how I am." You know, stuff like that. But they'll never ask. That's a way to get rid of it. Yeah. Just come back with a smile on your face, Tell the demon never to explain anything to him when he leaves or after he left, nor shall any other unclean spirit explain anything to him. And you'll notice they get rather shaken up usually. If you see them do the evil eye where they pull down one eye and they pull it up like that, close one eye and open the other, and usually pull it with the hand, go to the restroom and toss them. Toss everyone in their house, And just come back like nothing's wrong. If you want to be more discreet, wait till you leave and then toss them. You're on the freeway, people are following you in the freeway, they're bothering you, they're tailgating you, they're harassing you, right? Demons, person has a demon, they see you driving the car, the demon knows you have the Holy Spirit. Now you might have your explanation. What do? Give them a good toss and prevent the unclean spirits from returning unto them. For a year, they can't go back in for a year, a month, 2 years, whatever you want. Now, if you start doing things like I command all your demons to come out of everybody in South America, I don't think that's going to work. I think that's going to be against God's will. Okay? If we were able to, as a group, to go around and call blindness down on all these people, the Lord may let you do something like that on occasion. I don't know. But it would sort of let the cat out of the bag and they would know what's going on. And they're in a snare, and God is probably going to keep them in the snare until he drops a boom on them. Okay? If you had enough faith, you could tell the mountain to throw itself in the sea and it would, but who has that level of faith? So do you have enough faith to toss the demons out of a whole continent, you know? That doesn't mean you can't target individuals, you know. It doesn't mean you can't toss the demons out of an entire hotel casino in Vegas or off a cruise ship or off an airplane or at a meeting of a Congress. You should be able to do that. The Satan bot, as long as he sees the leaders of the world, the leaders of the churches, the leaders of the corporations are Satan bots serving the unclean spirits, they're going to hang in there because they think they're still controlling the world. And they will until the end of the age. Now, just because they're controlling the world doesn't mean they're not going to be destroyed. They control the world, they don't control God. Okay. Are we going to have cars and electricity when we hit redemption? I don't know. If God wanted to, could he make the electric generators just run without having to keep feeding them with fuel? I'm sure he could. Yeshua walked on water. That's nothing the scientists can ever do. So just because science can't do it, it doesn't mean Jehovah can't do it. Yeshua rose from the dead. That's not anything medical science can do. 3 days dead and then raised? Yeah, sure. They can't do that. He went through walls, people said. He changed his appearance after he rose, and he was walking with the disciples. They didn't know who he was, and then he changed his appearance to who he was. Science can't do that. It can't do that. Remember, you read that Abraham's wife Sarah was super pretty and Eve was pretty. Well, the women are going to be that way. They're not going to be like they used to be. God put, bad birthmarks on us, defects, deformities, stuff like that, to try to get us to return to Him. It didn't work. The redeemed aren't going to wear eyeglasses and have crowns in their teeth and fillings. My guess would be that if the teeth fell out, a new one would grow in. Now, then the film characters used to have 2 rows of teeth. So if they lost the tooth, they had another. I don't know if they ever grew in, but they used to have 2 rows of teeth. I understand from their examining skeletons and stuff, but I don't think God's going to give us a double row of teeth. I think our teeth are going to be really good, and they probably aren't going to fall out very easily, but if something happened, maybe they would grow back in. But I think it's just going to be everything is really good. Probably our vision will be very, very good. I don't know if it'll be 20/20 or much better. I don't have any idea. Probably be at least that good, if not better. I don't know. What are we going to eat? Well, a lot of stuff you eat now, except you're not going to eat, Mars bars and Good and Plenty and garbage. I don't think they'll have garbage. Will they have sweets? Yeah, sure. But you see, our bodies are going to be altogether different. They're going to be much more efficient and stronger, and you're going to be able to eat stuff. I don't know how much food we'll consume. We're going to have to just learn a lot of things when it happens with the everlasting life. I don't exactly understand a lot of things like that. If the electricity and the power of the engines running on fuel don't work, then there's going to be a lot of debris to remove in Israel and the rest of the world. Maybe they do work. I don't know. Asher shall dip his foot in oil. I don't know. I know that we're going to have a lot of money and wealth, and we're going to have businesses where people are going to be working for us, and we're going to have servants. And God will apparently show us how to run the businesses so we're successful. So even if you make mistakes, out of a good heart, you made mistakes, well-intended mistakes, He'll probably stop you on the way, okay? So you won't mess it up, or He'll make it so that it won't mess it up, because He's going to change His whole perspective on the way He deals with you in things concerning the ways of the world, the natural stuff. The money, I believe, is going to be gold and silver. There's scriptures to that effect. And I'm reasonably certain it'll be coinage, or bars or whatever. Are there going to be banks? There's not going to be banks like we know it, because as Israelis, we can't charge usury to our fellow countrymen. We won't be allowed to do that. So banks as you know it will be gone. Visa, MasterCard, all that stuff isn't going to be around. Where are you going to store your money? Well, probably have a room in the house where you'll have a door that you can lock, so avoid temptation, I guess, or close it. And you probably have a box or a chest and you keep it in there. Nobody's going to really rob you. They're not going to have a big problem with thieves or anything like that. Are we going to have a police department? Nah, we'll have Levites to take care of stuff like that, but we're not going to have a police department. For what? We're not going to need it. Will we have an army? Probably not. After redemption, we're going to beat our swords into plowshares, our spears into plowshares. Wait a second. We beat our swords into plowshares and we beat our spears into pruning hooks. Those are hooks on a pole that you cut the fruit off with and stuff like that. This big pomelo tree I got, I gave away about 30 pomelos to some people with a large family. Then I called them back and gave them another 20 or 25. And then I'm going out there now. There's still another 20, 25 out there. How many pomelos can I eat? I should eat more. Dogs won't eat them. They don't consider it food. Buell's working out with the harness. Okay, let's go back to spiritual warfare. So people bothering you in the cars, give them a toss. Now, be careful about doing it to a cop because he might try to bear down on you because you got the Holy Spirit or something like that. But you know that's a very rare thing in reality. The cops are really trained to look for somebody doing something wrong, and then they generally give them a ticket. Now, is it possible that they might not give a ticket to another Satan bot? Maybe, I don't know. They usually do. You don't like something in your government, let's say your city, toss the mayor, the deputy mayor, the city council, the police chiefs, the sheriff. He's really county, not the city. You want to create chaos, toss the county jail, toss the city jail. Toss the state prisons, toss the hospitals, the nursing homes. You can toss factories. The Hollywood people put witchcraft spells and enchantments on their movies. Cancel it on the movies. Watch them have flops. The same with music releases from the bands and the rock stars. They don't really do much. And, you know, you don't see many movies with the big stars anymore since COVID. It's not, I don't understand it anymore. I think people have stopped going to the movies. So there's no real big box office take, and they can't really pay these guys $25 million or more per picture. It costs too much to make it, and then they got to pay these superstars all this money, and then it doesn't take in a lot of money at the theaters, and then they put it on like Amazon Prime and things like that, and people pay for the movie, but they get a pittance of what they used to get at the gate when people went to movie theaters, you know. Now they do a lot of anime, you know, which is, if they could convert the people over to anime, which they can flourish, because they don't have to pay big stars. They just pay behind the scenes animators, which is a pittance compared to what they got to pay the stars, you know. I mean, Tom Cruise or one of those big shots is going to, go in and take $25 million or something, plus a percentage of the take. I mean, see it, they're just they're running with a lot of no-name people in the movies now, and on the TV series too, as well. And you know, they start them out when a series starts. They probably give them $10,000-15,000 an episode. The first season, and this next season it works up, and then by you get into 5 or 6 seasons, the big ones are probably getting $50,000 an episode. And they, some of them will get fortunate and they'll do 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons, and they'll save their money. They'll have a really nice nest egg. But will they appear in other seasons, in other series? The chances of that are about 90% against them. So they're not going to make it into another series. So they just expire. And then why? Because the Hollywood producers and directors and the financiers don't want to promote superstars, because the next series they get, they're going to want to start at $50,000 or $100,000 an episode. And then after 2 or 3 seasons, they're going to want $200,000-300,000 an episode. And they don't want to create, and then they become more well-known, more popular, and people like them. And then before you know it, they're like going to be making $1 million an episode. They don't want monsters like that anymore. They don't want high-paid big actors. They want good actors and actresses that don't do that. Okay. You want to watch a real ball game? Kick the unclean spirits out of all the players, the coaches, the owners of the clubs, and prevent them from communicating with these people, or going back in them, or talking to them, or leading them, or directing them, or helping them, or punishing them during the ball game. Do it just before the ball game, and just stop them from being able to do anything, and you'll see a real ball game. Any kind of ball, soccer, basketball, hockey, it doesn't matter. You could do it with boxing. It really doesn't matter. You can do things like this. I command any unclean spirit inside a person who initiates the evil eye contact with me to immediately depart from the person the very instant they begin this evil eye contact, or this eye contact for evil purposes. You shall immediately depart from this person with giving them no warning, and never explain to them what happened. And these commands are set in place now for the next 100 years. I did something like that once. I went to a meeting from some guy I was working for as a consultant, and he hired this woman that was a witch, and we were standing around talking, and she looked at me and she jerked like that. She was trying to do the eye contact with me, and the demon came out. It works. It works. I know of a thing where there was an infant that was maybe 1 to 3 months old, something like that. and the person would stick their tongue out, and then the infant would stick their tongue out to match that. Now, what was that? That was a demon in the infant. How do you handle that? I command you, unclean spirit, come out from this child now and never return again. B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach, and that's the end of that. Not hard. You want to play a game, make yourself a less of a target. I command any unclean spirit that's currently in any person right now that ever did a work against me or anything I own, possess, or control or set my hand to, or my spouse, to come out from any person you're in immediately now and never return to them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. I did that for real. You see what I'm saying? So when they start getting involved with getting works moved against you, once a week, do that. So when their spiritual overlords tell them to do something, they'll start getting nervous and shaking, and maybe they won't do it. Bring the fight to them. See, the more you bring the fight to them, the less weary they're going to make us, okay? They'll get weary. And the time for their demise, or their end of their reign as the gods of this age, is drawing very close to an end. So may as well, kick the can down the road. The demons being the can, kick them down the road. Okay, that rattles them. Okay, that rattles them because they don't know when it's going to happen, and they don't like it. They're not going to tell you the people they're in they don't like going to the pit, but they don't like it over there. Not at all. If you ever see people that look like they might be interested in committing a crime against you, an assault, or who knows what, they're looking at you funny, following you, something like that, toss them quickly. I command you, unclean spirits, to come out from these two guys looking at me over there now and never return unto the Yemen, and don't communicate with them for the next 10 years continuously, all you unclean spirits, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach. And you'll likely see them break off. Now, if they're a bunch of strung out junkies that have nothing to do with serving unclean spirits, they're not witches, they don't understand any of that, it will have no effect. But frequently it will. I mean, you could also cancel any witchcraft spells, enchantments. But when you toss the demons out of them, if they ever had a demon to start with, that'll be the end of their witchcraft and spells that they ever did. It should be canceled. So that's another way to do it, You get, not, who is it? Church of the Latter-day Saints. Just a minute. Don't open the door. Say, I command you, unclean spirits, to depart from all these people on the other side of my door now. Never return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach. And then ignore them. Don't let them in your house. Don't talk nice to them. Don't give them a greeting. Give them a toss. If enough people did that, they'd stop going around knocking on doors, wouldn't they? But enough people don't do it. What did Yeshua say in Matthew 16, I think verse 17? These signs shall follow those that believe in my name. They shall cast out devils. And they don't do it. But you could do it. So they come to your house to evangelize their sicko church. Give them a toss. Give them a toss. Why not? Toss the hospitals. Do the people a favor. There's a lot of demonic witches running around these hospitals, Give them a toss. Prisons, give them a toss. Same thing. Lots of demonic people working in prisons. Nursing homes, rehabilitation, hospitals, same thing. Give them a toss. You don't like the way the school's teaching crap to the kids? Toss the school repeatedly, over and over and over again. Let's see. You're worried about getting attacked in your car or something like that, right? I command you, unclean spirits, to immediately depart from anybody that touches my car or approaches my car to do evil and gets close to it. When this happens, you shall instantly depart from that person without giving him any warning or explanation after the fact. These commands are set in place for any car I happen to be using for the next 10 years continuously. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. You could tread over all the power of the enemy. You could stop them from doing all this stuff. Okay? You don't like a TV show? Toss the producers, the directors, the actors, the writers, the investors in the show, anything. Toss. Enough people did this, they'd stop putting 6 shows up, right? You'll never see enough people do it, but we could do it. There are a bunch of teachers that are Satan bots. Usually, over time, they'll emerge into a higher position in the school. Like they'll be, vice principal, principal, the head of something, But they could still be in the school, so you give them a toss. I think here. If you were being bothered by a lawyer or a law firm, you can toss the lawyer, the law firm, all the employees, all the lawyers, all their families. But don't stop there. Toss all their clients and their families and all the employees of their clients. And do not tell the unclean spirits that they can never explain this to them. So the unclean spirits will tell the clients or the lawyer or the law firm why they got tossed. If it's a big law firm, multi-million-dollar law firm, and their clients are huge companies and very wealthy people, there you go. And do it again and again and again. You could toss the jury, the judge, the bailiffs, all the people in the courtroom during the trial. Interesting trial outcomes, right? Tell the unclean spirits they can't be in the trial, they can't observe the trial, they can't surveillance the trial, will know what's going on in the trial using any means at their disposal, and they cannot influence the trial in any way, shape, or form, and just keep them the heck out of there. And that's that. See what the trial does. Never know. Stay out of court, though. They're crooked places. Some children are bothering your children for some reason. Toss them, toss the parents. Toss the church they go to. They may go to a church, maybe not, but you could give it a toss. Just toss any church that, little Billy and little Mary go to, everybody in the church that's a member of the church, the pastors, the staff, the volunteers, toss. No, it's worth a try. You don't like cults in your area? Toss them. Toss them. People at the bank nasty to you, toss them. Credit bureau, they're bothering you for something, give them a toss. Not just the people that work there, the people on the board of directors. If you don't like a company and you want to toss the company, get the board of directors and their families. Get the lawyers for the company, the law firm for the company, and all their clients. See, they don't have any protection against this. The unclean spirits will encourage them to try to destroy your faith and not show any signs and just keep pushing on with all the evil you've been doing. But you know what? As you keep it up and you don't stop, they give up. They get weary. They grow weak. They fall apart. They do. And they'll leave you alone. Every now and then, the demons will come back and take a poke at you. And then you just unleash on them bigger than you ever did the last time. Maybe spend hours and hours for a few days in a row tossing. They'll get the idea. Then they might test you again. And then you keep doing that again. You just keep pounding them and pounding them. And then you could command them to not come back and test you anymore and try your patience. You could stop that too. Remember in the scriptures it says we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. Well, the church is completely ignorant of Satan's devices. And the believers that are not in the church are generally ignorant of Satan's devices. They may know a little bit, but they don't know much. And this drives the demon people on, the Satan bots on, because they got their world of secrecy. But when you start doing the tossing, the demons conceal from them how bad it is. You could tell them not to conceal how fearful they are of God. And, you could do that, but I don't know how that'll manifest, So as long as the heads of the companies and the governments and all the important people in the world are serving the unclean spirits, they're happy. They think they're in control. That's the snare. That's why we have the day of vengeance is a day. It's a 24-hour day, a yom. Let's check that and make sure it actually does say yom, a literal day. I'll check it in the Hebrew text. I never thought of doing that before. Let's go to Isaiah 34:8. Day of vengeance. Okay, I'll get into the Hebrew and see what the word is. Ki Yom. Yeah, it's regular word Yom, the regular Yom. And that means a day, like Monday, Wednesday, Sunday. It's a day. It's a 24-hour day. Now, the difference is in the Bible, the day begins at, let's just say, sundown, and it ends at sundown, but it's still a 24-hour period, when you're dealing with Shana and Shana with the year of recompenses and year of redemption, that word is not uh, locked into a 12-month, 360-day year. It's the word used like for, a lamb of the first year. So the lamb of the first year is 12 months old. If the lamb's 6 months old, he's not of the first year. He's still in the first year. I don't think it's a great match. But in either event, when the lamb turns 2, it's not in the first year. I think it means between year 1 and year 2. So the lamb, the mother, and what do they call it, EWE. So the mother and the baby have a chance to be with each other. And then the baby becomes, sacrifice. So you do that, I would say it's between when the lamb's 12 months old, but before 24 months. When it hits 24 months, it's a lamb of the second year now. You get it? So that's when we're looking at the year of recompenses and year of redemption, it's a Shana year, not a Shana. So it could be up to 24 months. So August 10th, 2023 is when the Lord told me we're in recompenses. And the maximum expiry of that would be, in my opinion, the last day of July, because God's year is 5 days less, roughly speaking, than man's year, than the Gregorian calendar. So you knock 10 days off. So it would be by the very end of July. Where are we now? We're in May. Good fit, isn't there? Now, I don't know if he's going to have us wait till, or if he's going to wait till the very last day of July. I have no idea. But, guys, there's a lot of stuff to happen between now and the day of recompenses. So I don't think we're going to have to wait much more. As you can see, things are lighting up more and more and more and more and more. So I would think redemption is at the doors. It's getting ready to knock. Lift up your head, your redemption draweth nigh. Why does it say that? Because that's the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man, of Yeshua, in the clouds. Every eye shall see him, right? Revelation 1:7, Matthew 24:30. And when you see him and you're a believer, you have everlasting life, John 6:40, and that happens in Zechariah 12:10. Lift up your head. Why do you lift your head up? New Jerusalem, you'd be looking straight ahead, right? Or maybe up a little, but you're lifting your head. Well, maybe you want to see New Jerusalem come down. But New Jerusalem doesn't bring you redemption. It's the appearing that brings you redemption with everlasting life. And that was the hope of the Jews and the Israelites back then, when the apostles were there, was waiting for this redemption. Now, they didn't have a great idea of the timing of prophecy either back then. And they thought everything was going to happen real soon, and obviously it didn't, And the dry bones are going to come up and come to Israel. That's your Ezekiel 37 during redemption year. They'll be here. I don't believe they stop in the wilderness. It doesn't say they do. They just come to Israel. They'll have the same everlasting life, and I'm sure he'll put the law in their heart. And they'll have a heart of flesh, not of stone, and they all shall know me from the least to the greatest. And that'll be a lot of fun, to say the least. To say the least, meeting these people that lived thousands or hundreds of years ago, and talking to them, and how many of them probably spoke to Yeshua or saw him or something. I don't know. or how many saw the apostles. It would be really a, so what did, Stephen look like? What did Paul look like? What did he sound like? How did they act? Did you feel the anointing when you were with them? What was it like hearing Yeshua talk? And imagine some of the other things they'll probably be able to tell us um, about Yeshua and stuff that didn't make it into the New Testament. They said that if they put all the things that Yeshua did in books, the world wouldn't have enough room to contain them. So he did tons and tons of stuff that never made it in there. We'll probably find out some of that stuff anyway. Now, the ones that are coming up are the ones that went to the place of punishment, where the rich man and the beggar that sat outside his gate and the dogs licked his sores. The beggar guy went to the good place, Abraham's bosom. The other guy went to the bad place where there was no water, and he yelled over to Abraham, Father Abraham, please send him over here to dip his finger in water and put it on my tongue. Abraham said, no, we can't cross the chasm. And Yeshua led captivity captive. I believe he took them up to heaven because his redemption would have applied to them too. Right? Why not? You see, Yeshua and his father Jehovah are so great in power and deeds and mercy and love and everything. And we have so much trouble imagining or understanding how great they really are. How powerful and wonderful. It's beyond our imagination. I don't think you could measure it. I think their mercy and their love and their power is infinite. It's immeasurable. We don't know, never will know how much is. Now, I guess when we wind up in heaven, we might have a grip of it much, much, much better than we do now. And when we're with Yeshua in New Jerusalem in 70 years approximately, we'll probably have a much, much better grip. And I'm sure that when we're with Yeshua in New Jerusalem, he'll talk much to us about heaven, I believe. But right now, I don't think a lot of that's going on, because when we reach the next stage with everlasting life, I think a lot of the teaching and the talk is going to be rotating a lot more on the great falling away and what New Jerusalem be like and stuff like that. In other words, Gog and Magog. But we're going to have a long period of time where we're just going to have a really great time. And that's the time when we're going to be, young again, and we're going to build Israel up physically and also by birth. So there's going to be many, many children. Many children. And polygamy will come back. It never went away. It's the governments that took it away. Yeshua never said, you do polygamy, you're going to go to the lake of fire. The scripture said, the elder or the pastor should be the husband of but one wife. But we're not going to have those type of operations going. It's going to be more with the Levites and stuff. So there's going to be many, many children. And your focus is going to be very heavily into the family. And the reality of that is your friends and neighbors in Israel are going to be your family, even though they're not your family, if you get the drift. Okay? And like when Yeshua was getting ready to die, he went to Apostle John and said, behold, this is your mother, this is your mother, speaking of Miriam, who the church calls Mary. And with her, he said, this is your son. So he basically told Apostle John that he was going to take care of his mother, and Now, mind you, he's telling an apostle to take care of his mother. That's worth quite a lot, right? And mother, you're going to treat him like your son. Well, I would believe she's in heaven. I wouldn't, pray to her. Where are we told to pray to Yeshua's mother? You know, you're not. You shouldn't. And then when they asked Yeshua about his family, meaning the brothers and the mother, he said, "Who's my family?" The believers. And how did he refer to you as his brethren? See, he was operating on a much higher plane than we do, spiritually. But that higher plane, when you hit everlasting life, you'll be there. You'll probably be a lot like Yeshua before the resurrection. Never like that because he was born in the Holy Spirit, but you'll be a lot closer than you are now. Yeshua was born in the Holy Spirit, and God's going to put the law in our heart, and we're going to have a heart of flesh. See, you're not going to be like Yeshua per se, literally, but you're going to get a whole lot closer. It's going to be nice. It's going to be nice. Even Yeshua, when he was in the flesh before resurrection, he wasn't walking around glowing. You will, emanating forth life. Arise, shine, your light has come. Like Moses comes down from Mount Sinai. They covered him with a cloth, So you're going to be in a much better state than you are now. A young body and a different body. You're going to run, it says, and you're not going to get tired. You're going to probably have much greater strength. I don't know how much weight we'll be able to press. Are we going to be able to press 300, 400, 500? That jerk Schwarzenegger was able to press over 500 pounds. He never liked to talk about it because he wasn't, that goofball, I use the word loosely, was trying to promote bodybuilding, which is, hedonism and flesh worship and that kind of, not literal flesh worship, but, it's all about what you look like. It's the complete opposite of the way we're supposed to behave, you know. And he didn't like to talk about what he was capable of, but he was, again, the word used loosely, this character was probably shooting testosterone and a few other drugs once or twice a day and eating like a hog and working out like crazy. Him and his little buddy who became a chiropractor, I forget the little guy's name, they would bring oxygen tanks to the gym and they would work out, and in between sets they put the mask on their face with the oxygen and breathe in oxygen, which would help build muscles, I suppose, and their recovery would be faster, and they would go back and do it again, do another set. And so their whole life was, Arnold would go to the gym and, I guess he probably slept. Somebody like that would probably sleep 8 to 10 hours, and he would go to the gym, and his workouts were about 3 hours. And then I imagine after the gym, he would pack down a lot of food. And I think he probably brought a lot of food with him because he wasn't yet a millionaire or anything. And then he would go to Venice Beach and he'd lay down and work on his tan because they didn't have the sun lamps perfected back then. So he probably needed to rest after working out and eating. A lot of those characters would eat like 2 big chicken breasts and probably some fruit and vegetables with it, And he probably ate 6 times a day. He became quite a dietitian. He wrote books about it. He knew how to eat. He figured it out and people taught him. and he would go work on his can, and then I guess he went home and took a nap or took care of business, whatever he did. And a lot of times he'd go back in the evening and work out again. This was his whole life. He had groupies that would take care of him. They would clean the house, do the shopping, prep the food, plan the meals with him. He had mail order sales. He was doing, this is before he was really making the movies, you know. He had, a small group of groupies that hung around with him and did all these things for him. So he was free to do everything and work on his bodybuilding, you know. Was a unique individual. There were others that were good, but none of them really went anywhere beyond the bodybuilding. He started doing movies, and when he started, his movies were rather terrible, you know. Anyway, so prices are going up around the world, and wages aren't. So you're going to start seeing lousier economies, you know. The events are happening, and they're happening big time. And the day of vengeance, of course, is when Jehovah is going to, I believe, do Jeremiah 30:11. But I'm not going to say we're not going to see wars before that, because I would expect we will, and we're seeing them already, and we're going to see more, and big ones, I believe. Maybe we're just going to see these rumors of war, and Jehovah's going to knock the countries off, not killing everybody, but destroying the country. When the time comes, that could be. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see, well, we're going to see war with, the Philistines, Gaza. We're going to see it with Yemen. We're going to see it with Iran, probably Iraq and Syria and Lebanon. Let me take a look at the live stream and see if I have questions to answer. Oh, we have a lot of nasty people putting a lot of nasty posts up. Thank you, moderators. I'm going to talk about spiritual warfare every day. I do welcome questions about that. You can email me. My email address is at the top of the chat. It's at the bottom of the description box, and it's israelgiving with the number 7 at Gmail. Now, if you want help tossing someone, breaking witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments, drop me an email and I'll unleash the spiritual warriors on you. Now, let's say you get sick or a friend gets sick or something like that, and you just want to, it might be you just got sick, but let's say you want to just hedge your bets and make sure you're okay. I cancel and make null and void any and all witchcraft, sorcery, spells, enchantments, vexes, hexes, spells, and evil spiritual warfare directed at me. All such things are hereby canceled and made null and void immediately, and any unclean spirit that had a hand in such things is hereby kicked out of any person they're in immediately. And if they're not in a person, they will take themselves to the place where unclean spirits go, where they're kicked out of somebody, and stay there for the next year continuously, beginning now. And this is all done irrevocably. These curses, etc., shall never return, and it's all done irrevocably in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. You can play that back. That was a mouthful. Now, you can do that against, if you think maybe that's something was done to you, or something could have maybe was done to something you put your energy into, like a business, a job, or friends and relatives, or something like that. Or if they're bringing somebody to make your life miserable, like somebody's blasting stereos or whatever the heck it is, You could do that. And then you could ask the Lord to heal you. You could put a request in for healing. You get a lot of people. So, I don't believe it would be likely for a person that's a believer to have a demon. Is it possible that there's a person who was a believer and fell away and the Holy Spirit left the person and they have a demon? Oh, yeah, sure. But do I think a demon's going to be in you at the same time the Holy Spirit is in you? I don't think the demon could survive or take that. Paul said he had a thorn in the flesh. He didn't say he had a demon in them. The church tells you he had a demon in them. Okay? It's a figure of speech. Israel, the Lebanon thing is described as a thorn in the side of Israel. Okay? There's something bothering them. Lebanon's not in us. Hezbollah's not in us. It's a figure of speech. He's getting bothered. God may do something like that to keep somebody humble and that kind of thing. Okay. So I'll talk about it every day, and you guys should take action. These signs shall follow them that believe in my name; they shall cast out devils. And read Luke 10. I think it starts around verse 17, where the 70 return, and they said, even the demons are subject unto us. And then Yeshua tells them, you'll be able to tread over all the power of the enemy. And you could undo whatever they can do. Don't ever tell the demons to do something, because now you're doing witchcraft, sorcery, spells, and you're becoming like them, and that's giving place to the devil. So you don't tell the demon stuff. You tell them what not to do. That's how I do it. Yeshua gave the demons leave to go into the pig. He didn't. He bait into the pigs. He didn't say, "I command you to go into the pigs." They were asking him not to bother them if he went into the pigs. He said, "Go into the pigs." He didn't care. Well, he said, "Yeah." He didn't tell them to do it. He said he wasn't going to go after them for doing it. It's a difference, a big one. So don't go around, telling them, when you come out of this person, bang on the roof of that car. Well, now you're doing witchcraft. You're telling the demon to do something. Demon will be happy to do it and then try to suck you in to do more things and then destroy you. Never do that. You just say, come out, and that's it. Don't look for the results. You'll see plenty of results in your days. But just by faith, you said it, God's going to make sure it happens, and that's it. You forget about it. The matter's done. It's sealed. It's over. It'll happen. And that's how you do it. It's by faith. That's it. That's it. Remember 2 John verses 9 to 11. I'll read it. This, of course, isn't taught. It should be. There's only one chapter in 2 John. So. Whosoever transgresseth and abideth not in the doctrine of Christ hath not God. Well, that's your churches when you learn the real doctrine of the Bible. He that abideth in the doctrine of Christ, he hath both the Father and the Son. Abideth means obey. You're living in it. You don't make Sabbath Sunday, for instance. It's impossible for that to happen, because the Sabbath is based on the day that Father God Jehovah rested after he made the creation. How could you change that day? It's past tense by about 6,000 years. Can't be Sunday. if there cometh any unto you that bring not this doctrine, receive him not unto your house, neither bid him God speed. Okay, knock, knock. Who is it? Jehovah's Witnesses. What does the church tell you? Open the door, bring them in, give them some tea. What does the Bible tell you? If there come any unto you that bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed. Bidding him Godspeed means giving him a greeting, like, hello, good to see you. Come on in. I'll give you some coffee or tea or soda. We'll talk about the Bible. See, you're giving place to the devil as soon as you open up the door like that. What does the church tell you to do? Invite him in and talk to the Bible about the Bible with him. What is the church doing? Setting you up to give place to the devil. So the people, the elder or the older, more experienced witch with these Jehovah's Witnesses or the Church of the Latter-day Saints is going to do witchcraft and sorcery on you. And the church is helping them. The Mormons do the same thing. When they're outside the door, just give them a toss and never answer the door. Don't give them a greeting. For he that biddeth him Godspeed is partaker of his evil deeds. She says, whole business of meeting strangers and shaking their hands, and then what else do they tell you to do? Look them in the eye. Why do they want you to look them in the eye? So the schmuck Satan bot can do something to you by having eye contact with you. You see how evil the world is, how it's all steeped in evil? Remember when Yeshua sent the 70 out, he said, when you see somebody on the way, don't greet them? Yeah. When they went to a house, they said, Yeshua told them, send your shalom to the house. If the Son of Man be there, it'll rest on the house. If not, it'll return to you. Well, if there's believers there, it'll rest on the house. If not, it'll return to you. They don't teach you that. Why? Because you do it to the pastor or the church, and you'll realize that your shalom's coming back to you, if you have enough discernment to know your shalom. Having many things to write unto you, I would not write with paper and ink, but trust to come unto you and speak face to face, that our joy may be full. Boy, don't you just wish you had a chance to hear that other stuff that he didn't write down, huh? What about Peter's sermons? We get a little piece like this, but he was preaching for hours. Oh, that would have been good to read, huh? But if you have the Holy Spirit and you pray avidly and you read the Bible and you keep spending time, you will get all you need out of that Bible. I got the spiritual warfare out of the Bible and from Jehovah. You don't need, it's nice to have a teacher, believe me, it cuts corners, it makes it faster and easier, but there's so much in this Bible. I'm talking Genesis to Revelation. It's amazing. You just got to dig it out. It's work. It's work. It's a supernatural book. The more you learn, the more you dig, and then you're going to realize how the Bible is so powerful. Yet the unsaved don't know that. To them, it's a waste of time. I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for my packages to come because of that airline strike. I think there's 2 of them in Israel already, and I'm waiting to get them. So pray I get my packages efficiently and quickly. I really appreciate it. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. Beulah seems quite well adjusted with her harness. She gets me to sit out there with her a lot. to watch her, and then I'm not spending enough time with the other dog, Mommy. That's not so good either. So I got to figure it out. I don't know if I can leave her out there. The harness isn't around her neck. I don't think she can get into any serious trouble. She could wrap herself around a piece of fence or a tree and get stuck there. I just have to go check on her every little bit, make sure she doesn't. So I don't know. I'm working on it. So far, I haven't done it. I don't know if I will either. I may not. So pray that I find a way to work this out with the dogs so I can balance my time. And pray for better teaching, better live streams. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for me and my wife's health and finances. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I hope you got something out of it, and I'll keep the spiritual warfare stuff going every day. And I'm out. Thank you.